Hello everyone, and welcome back to Strife Veteran Edition, where today we're going to enter this fortress and do what needs to be done. From the get-go, no one is actually hostile to me, which is nice. We can talk to the Templars, but there is going to be one hostile enemy here, which is going to be another big robot. So we are actually going to use Shadow Armor, which is going to make it harder for the hit scanners to hit us. If we use it twice in the Veteran Edition, we actually become even more invisible. So let's just do that, because it's kind of amusing to see the enemies try and shoot us while we're this invisible. Every enemy here is now going to make an attempt to fire at us, and they're all just going to shoot somewhere. Realistically, you really don't need to use more than one Shadow Armor for this fight. But it is kind of interesting to see how big of a difference it makes when they're all just shooting genuinely 90 degrees away from me all the time. And it certainly makes this particular fight a little bit easier. May seem a little bit of a waste to use two full Shadow Armors on one fight, since we can only carry two maximum. But I think it's neat, so that's exactly what we're going to do it. Also, we are going to use this Sigil weapon, which I should actually point out, it does look more like an actual weapon than just two tasers when you hide the HUD a little bit. Like, you're actually holding the thing like you do in the little cutscene that shows off the weapon as well. It's just hard to see with the HUD being what it is. But we're going to use it in this corner right here. Seemingly, there'll be nothing here. We'll take a little bit of damage, and I'm just going to show the map the entire time. There is some enemies here in a room very close to where we are. Ordinarily, they would be teleporting in later. Hopefully, this kills them. It's a little bit tricky to guarantee that this actually works. But it's more a case of tricky to guarantee it works, and also tricky to guarantee you're not accidentally setting off the alarm in this next area. Because this next area, from the get-go, there is one of these walls that sets off the alarm. But only this front part works. The ones on the side don't actually set off the alarm here. So we can actually do the rest of this stealthily as well, if we so desire, and I do. So we're going to do that exactly. I'm also going to use my summoner beacon right here. It is going to summon 6 members of the force. Interesting thing about the stealth system in this as well is that the force don't necessarily alert enemies to me or set off alarms, so it makes life a little bit easier. And they're not very good at doing things, so that's why I'm using them there, so they can deal with the smallest of the enemies available in this section right here. A couple of robots as well. We'll see if they did a good job later. For now, let's go to the other side. There is some enemies that we can very easily take care of with our melee attack. Let's deal with this one from up close as well. We can go through this, and a little bit of a secret area right here with a bunch of consumables. I'm actually just going to use a surgery kit as well, as my health was getting a little bit on the low side. And there is an enemy over there as well. We can deal with that a little bit later. For now, let's first deal with the remaining enemies here. Just a couple of hit scanners, no worries. We can press this button to make a big walkway over here. And that's going to be useful in a bit. That robot needs to not be there, but we'll deal with that when it comes back, I suppose. And we can just fight everyone else.
Heavily guarded, so why don't we swipe a uniform and blend in?
And we can indeed get that uniform right there. We can talk to this guy who says "Die Traitor." If we kill him, he drops the core, the order key. That was called the core key. And ordinarily, if you were to pick up the uniform, it would spawn into enemies. We'll see if we manage to kill them with the sigil, though. And we might have. Again, it's a little bit hard to tell at times. I'm not sure if they managed to kill everyone here, but no. No. They are all very much stuck in the water. That's okay. Ultimately, they're doing their best, and that's what matters. I'm actually going to set up the alarm, just for the sake of making sure that those enemies that ordinarily teleport in have actually died. I didn't hear them dying, that's really my main worry. But it probably did. It's probably fine, but I'm just a little concerned, I suppose. We can deal with that one now that the alarm's going off as well. But ordinarily, there would be 2 more Templars teleporting in, and I am going to safely assume that they die. I'll verify that later, but We'll see if it all ended up working out. So the core key, or order key, whatever key it is that we have picked up, we can use it to enter the armory right here. It has a lot of consumables for all of our favorite things. And that is lovely, because I need lots and lots of ammo for the upcoming section, so it is just nice to have some of that. Because we set off the alarm, this guy's probably aggroed. Yeah, we're just gonna try and shoot some grenades. He got one shot off and it took away a lot of health, unfortunately, but that's okay. There's a bunch of consumables there as well, but we'll pick that up on the way back. And instead, we are just going to move forward. This is going to be a heavily stealth-focused mission, I suppose. Because we picked up that guard uniform, we can walk through this door without setting off the alarm, so that's wonderful. We can talk to this person to give him some ID. Giving him the idea will remove some bars there. It will also open up a door here. No one in here really is usually that bothered by me attacking people, so we can just go ahead and deal with the enemies right now. The doorman was very kind, but we have to get rid of him. If you did kill him beforehand, you can press this switch to raise the bars as well. And sometimes they die in one hit, and that's nice. I am going to fight a little bit in this room, because if you aggro enemies here with non-stealthily, it's going to summon into Templars. I think I could just do this. Just use the old fire attack right there, and they'll probably just walk into it. They dealt a lot of damage. Those fighters can be a real nuisance if you are standing somewhat in a wrong position to deal with them. They all appeared from these little nooks. I'll show them off in a second once this one Templar who's avoiding all the fire somehow has died. There we go. There's a couple of little nooks and crannies. Like you can kind of see a texture that doesn't look quite right over there. And there's all these spiders that are inside those little holes and they come out once you break the stealth in here. And it can be a little bit of a nuisance to deal with, as you saw. Fortunately, there's no alarms that go off when you fight in this room in particular. So if we go forward, then no one's mad at me. That's nice.
I just got word that we have an informer inside the fortress. Let's head for what they call the hospital. He works there.
We'll go towards the hospital in a second. First, we're going to deal with some enemies that are not particularly bothered with me, but we'll have to deal with them at some point, and dealing with them stealthily it's just a little easier. There is a lot of force fields on that building that we just walked past. This switch will turn those off, and we can actually enter the building as well and deal with some more enemies that are waiting for us inside here. This whole building is effectively optional, but there is something in here that I want to get, so we'll definitely be dealing with all of this as we progress through this. I think there is a robot that I can take care of from here. This can be a little fiddly because the robot's all the way at the top and I'm all the way at the bottom. But usually if you just sort of wait around underneath them, slowly but surely the robot will come down until the point where we can actually just melee him. And we will have no further concerns regarding the robot, so that's good. There should be a few more enemies waiting for us alongside that robot. There's 2 guards. Both of them don't care about me because, you know, my crossbow doesn't make a sound sometimes. And we can deal with the robot and leave. This teleporter is not always available. It isn't available until you enter certain sections of the map for some reason. And then you can just use it to teleport back and forth. One of those things is going through that building the way I did, so that's nice. Otherwise, this is just a blocked off wall. To keep stealth in mind, I will actually just melee this one to death, which is never great. It can cost quite a lot of health to melee a Templar to death, but it can be worthwhile. Theoretically, we should be going to the hospital at this point, but you know, there's just a lot to do in this place, and the hospital will wait for us, so no worries there. Let's move on. Just a few more people here. I'm hoping to get an enemy dead in one hit at some point with the melee attack, because then you see that the enemies just the enemies around them will just do nothing, and it's kind of an interesting sight for sure. Anyway, that is most of that. The hospital is in that direction, and we'll get to that first. There's still a little bit more shenaniganry to do. There is a little hole here, which can be a little fiddly to jump into. And I'm struggling a little bit more than I would like. You can jump from this box as well, yeah. There is a couple of spiders inside. They all run away from you once they see you because of how Doom works. But in the middle of this, there is a little secret area-ish with a little secret switch which lowers the secret water towards the secret metal armor. And to an actual secret area that counts for the achievement as well, alongside a wall that you can open up to leave this place. Eventually we'll have to enter this building, but we'll get to that when we get to that. First though, here's the hospital, and we can actually just enter through the front door right here. And get some stuff as well. We can talk to this person and he'll say, talk to the other person first. And so we will.
What a healthy specimen. You don't need my help, do you?
Yes.
Shh, keep it quiet, unless you want us both killed. Now, what can I do for you?
Bishop.
Oh, I knew you would ask me for that. Look behind you. That's the entrance to the Bishop's Citadel. It's guarded by a force field that is only shut off for official visitors, not you.
I must kill the bishop.
Oh, sure you do. First, fight your way into the security complex and use a teleporter. And this might be more to your liking. Destroy the computer in central administration. No computer, no force field.
Judging by recent history, I guess stealth is out.
I'll find a way for the most part, it's okay.
There's an advantage to destroying the computer. That's where the plans to the tower are kept. Can you say 5-finger discount?
I'm going to steal it.
Oh, well, word has it that the Bailey's warehouse received a shipment of maulers. That's the weapon that vaporizes.
No fuss, no muss, nothing for Mom to clean up. Get me one, please.
That is a little hint what we're going to get in the optional area of this place.
Don't you know the meaning of the words? Get lost?
And now that we've talked to him, we can talk to Assistant and we can buy some stuff from him if we so desire. Interestingly, this guy is killable. If you attack this one, the alarm will just go off and you won't be able to do anything anymore. This character, no one cares about that one. The Assistant is irrelevant to this game's story, I suppose, and is therefore not invulnerable. Which is surprising. I think it might be the only merchant that you can actually kill. Most of them are just indestructible, but that one right there, he has not been blessed with that level of invulnerability. Fortunately, he still likes us, even though we punched him mostly to death with that one attack, most likely. And we can just keep moving on. So anyway, there is still a little bit more to do while we're still here. There's still a couple Templars there. I don't really want to melee those to death. Over here, we can get to the other side of that tunnel we went through earlier. There is one more spider awaiting us here, so let's just deal with that one. Nice and quiet, like this leads nowhere. You can jump on top of this pipe to another pipe. And there will be a little elevator waiting for you there as well. And there's a couple things you can do from this elevator onwards, so let's just do those things real quick. First of all, we can go over here, get some more rockets, get some more grenades, if you so desire. A couple med patches right here as well. And an armor. And it teleports you once again to the Bishop's Castle, just the other blocky structure. Let's just deal with these two right here. This will set off the alarm a little bit. I just grenaded myself, so that's great. But they died pretty easily. The main reason why I'm attacking people now is because there's only 2 other enemies still alive in this place, and they are both on these buildings right here. One of them's on this side, and one of them's on the other side, so let's see if we can deal with them from here. And after that, we'll actually have all the kills in this place, so that's nice. We no longer need to worry about anything, and that is that taken care of. But I did mention there was another thing you can do up there, which we'll just do nice and quick right now without falling off a single time. Instead, we are going to go up the elevator once again, wait for it to go all the way back up, and then we're going to go to the left where there is a misaligned texture, and you can open that up by using it. For a few more health pickups, some more poison bolts, which is always good. I'll never come back here, so let's just get all the health pickups. And we can go into the optional level right here. This is the stores, and the stores have a lot of enemies. These enemies never care if you attack other enemies in this hallway, so you can just go wild if you want. You can technically kill these stealthily, but it's not great. I've managed it, but it was a lot of fiddling around. If you're playing this in GZ Doom, this is easy peasy. Your melee attack is infinitely long almost. Maybe I'm just not looking far enough up and the auto-aim's just not cutting it. That is actually possible, that's just the case. Maybe I'm just not punching correctly, because in most instances you don't really... Well, as long as you sort of punch in the area of an enemy, then you're probably fine. But if I just do this... Yeah, I don't know. It's... Like, this is really easy to do in GZ Doom. Not so much in this, but it's fine. We can deal with them less quietly later on. We'll just deal with these enemies first, while they're all standing still and doing not much of anything. This level's a big square, and most of it's just closed off from the start. So we're just going to open it up a little bit in a second. First of all, we can talk to this person. He tells us that there's some maulers coming our way, and that we shouldn't have all the bad people get those maulers, because that would be bad. Fortunately, we're the bad people, so we're going to get those maulers instead. And there's one more enemy waiting for us down here as well that we can take care of. Other than that, most of these sections lead to the same thing, which is a closed-off wall, which you can't really do anything with until you actually open up the level properly. And for that, you need to go in a pretty specific direction. I think there's some rockets here as well, actually. Yeah. Just gonna get all the rockets I can because I like them. There's some doors here, but you can just go through the windows if you really want. But instead, let's go back a bit. Push this switch to create a walkway, otherwise you have to walk all the way around. And instead, we're gonna go down this lift at the bottom. And just stealthily take care of some more goons. There is plenty of pickups in this place on top of boxes. You can generally see them, and there's usually a way to get on top of the boxes fairly easily as well. So if you are interested in things, these will be the levels for you. For the most part, though, we are interested in this little structure here in the middle, because that structure in the middle contains the buttons required to actually open up the rest of the map. I'm just going to deal with these enemies first, though. Nice thing about the stealth system in this game as well is that other people shooting, it just doesn't affect it. So you can just let the enemy shoot, and there's no real problem to deal with other than the bullets, I suppose. But from here, we can take care of these two enemies. Push the switch, and now the entire level will be opened up. So that is wonderful. If we go to the middle here, that will be an enemy. And from this point on, we will no longer be stealthy either. Due to the fact that we have to kill that enemy in a way that's not horrible. So we're going to do exactly that. First, we're going to deal with the remaining enemies in Section 4, because that's ultimately where we want to be. Templars get a little weird if you stand next to them and you're just shooting continuously. So that's something to keep in mind as well, because it can make them a little bit safer to kill. The downside is if you're standing not quite close enough, they're just going to shoot you in the face with their shotgun. And at that point, it's not great to stand in melee range, I suppose. There is still a bunch of turrets that can just barely hit us from where they are. And a bunch of little walkways. We'll deal with them when we deal with them. But there's a bunch of ways you can deal with them, so that's nice. There's actually like a conveyor belt here. Look at that. That's cute. So you have those in like Heretic and Hexen, but not really in many other Doom-related products. I'm going to shoot some grenades through that window, or at least try. Because there is a Templar around that wall, and it's just nice to take care of him like that. There is another one up there. Trying to hide. Oh, he actually went down the elevator. That's a rare one. But yeah, the nice thing about standing real close to them is that they keep trying to use their melee attack, and their melee attack won't quite hit because you're pushing them away with the machine gun. So it actually ends up being really powerful. But a little scary for sure. This is the Mauler. The Mauler is a good weapon. The Mauler is a really, really good weapon. The Mauler has two modes of attack. The first one is, well, what you saw the enemies do, really. You shoot a shotgun-like blast, and it takes care of most things, honestly. It's a very powerful weapon. And then you have the secondary fire, if I press the correct button. If you select the weapon again, they've added a little bit more UI to this version in the Veteran Edition, so you can more easily tell which version of the weapon you're using. Otherwise, there's a little light in the bottom left that's currently blinking, and that's ordinarily not blinking if you're not on the secondary fire mode. So there was always a way to tell that you had activated it, but they've made it a little bit more obvious. Which I can appreciate, because it's not... it can be difficult to tell the difference if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, so... They've certainly made that a little bit nicer. We'll show off the secondary fire in a second, I suppose. First, I just want to take care of these remaining gun turrets right here. There is still a couple that we haven't dealt with yet. These are just all the little hallways that lead ultimately to the middle of the level. I'm going to select it and then just shoot through this door, because I saw some enemies here. So that works pretty well. It does cost health to use, which is a downside, but the upside is that everything dies. So it's, you know... it more or less one-shots everything. I'm sorry that I'm killing all the random civilians in here, but I'm just not aiming very well. But also the regular shotgun version of the weapon, it's so good. It's such a nice weapon to have. I'm just really happy with it. So, all in all, good times. Also in this area, there's a little vault with a bunch of gold inside it, so we're just going to take all of that. Each one of these is 50 gold. Then there's some 25 gold pickups here, and then some 10 gold ones in the corner. It's just nice to have. And then also the corners of this big square house some secret shadow armor, a surgery kit, another shadow armor, which I guess we'll just use one, and a bunch of nothing. So, all in all, 3 good things. Pretty nice. Now we're just going to make sure that we have dealt with all the remaining enemies here as well. This is area number 2, which should have been cleared out, and area number 1, which doesn't really have anything usually. So we're probably just about done here. There is just one more big circle that I want to do before we leave here, because there is a couple of gun turrets on the outer edges of these walls. I killed that one. I definitely destroyed this one as well. And I think there's one all the way on the other side over here that I didn't. Yeah. Which our shadow armor is helping us with a little bit, because ultimately it doesn't fire projectiles either, so the attacks will generally miss, so that's good. And with that, when we jump down, we are back at the start of the level with a mauler in hand. And we can actually proceed with the main story of the game. In whatever way you want. There's a bunch of ways to get to the building where we need to be, the security complex. I took some damage falling down, but that's okay. It's right in front of the building that we just left, really. There is a door right here.
Grab the plans and knock out the computer, okay?
Okay. There is a box here that opens. You can hide in it and make yourself a nuisance in multiplayer. There's nothing actually in this box, and to my knowledge there never was anything in there either. It's just a little hidden box. Not even in deathmatch. There doesn't seem to be anything in that. So, you know, just if you want to sit in a box, then you can. Let's move on to the non-stealth section of this part.
Oh no, more bells and whistles and nasty guys chasing us.
I'm really trying. Yeah, it's a little tricky sometimes. This level sets off the alarm immediately, so yeah, there's no semblance of stealth here, unfortunately. You can jump down at the start and deal with a couple of enemies that way. I'm actually just going to select the Mauler once again, because I genuinely do love this weapon quite a lot. It takes care of the regular acolytes so well. Just 2 for 1 shot. That's just such a good deal. Such a good deal. Let's deal with this enemy right there as well while we can see it. And I think you can jump down this side as well. There's just nothing really going on. It's just a bunch of... just a teleporter that brings you back again. I think you can probably jump to those sections as well if you want to. I'm not really too interested, but there is a Templar right there, so I guess we might as well destroy him. And from here we can move on and press a switch. This level gets confusing if you don't know where to go.
We've been through endless hallways before, but I swear these walls are moving as we pass.
Yeah, more or less, because when you push that switch, it opens up some bars here. I think if we walk far enough forward, it'll open a door with some rockets and an enemy behind it, so that's nice. There is a guy with gun waiting for us over there. You can do a little bit of an awkward jump to get inside here if you so desire. The lower path also now leads to this place, so good stuff all around. But instead, we are just going to enter this sequence. I'm actually going to use the shadow armor, because we're going to find one here anyway. The door closes behind us for the sake of some more confusion. And now we are just going to shoot everything here that moves. There's a couple Templars here, which is why the Shadow Armor is a nice little gift to keep yourself alive, because you don't end up taking too much damage from the enemy that way. As long as you just have some distance away from enemies while you're wearing Shadow Armor, they'll generally miss if they don't shoot projectiles. And if they do, you're gonna get confused, so that's good. Behind here is a surgery kit. You can also enter this section right here with a little secret elevator and a wall that you can walk through in order to get a little bit more health and ammo for your weapons as well. I'm actually just going to use the equivalency of what's lying on the floor there before we move on. There is still a stalker that we can take care of relatively easily. It's so easy to run out of ammo for this weapon because it's just really nice. It's just a really nice weapon and I really, really like it. But that's okay. There is some more health waiting for us behind here as well, which we can get. And I think that's just about the right side of the map. When we first pressed the button in this section to open up the area in general, we also opened up some more places back here. If we go back where we pressed a button previously, this is now all opened up. I should really use a secondary fire against those big robots at some point, because it does just destroy them in one shot. It's just a little bit overkill for what needs to happen here. But walking over these lines will open up the doors, and with those open doors we can move on and fight some more rockets in our face, and also by just shooting the enemies as well. There is a bunch of secret stuff over here, none of which counts as a secret area, but they're still, you know, hard to find stuff at the end of the day, so we're just going to deal with that. I'm actually going to grab my flamethrower because I do quite like having the flamethrower for some of these really short-range sections. I think we've just about cleared everything here, so that's good. We can go to one of the sides of these rooms and it will open up a little side area with a little bit more health and enemies inside them as well. Little bit of a secret elevator that just brings you to a bunch of stuff. That's good. These screens can be destroyed for some extra things, and a flamethrower as well. So if you didn't bring Irale his flamethrower parts, you'll actually just get a free flamethrower in this level, which is pretty nice. There is a shadow armor over there. We'll get to that when we get to that. Press this switch to actually progress in the level because it does open up some more stuff. Another screen you can destroy for some goodies. Oh, you really hope that grenade doesn't hit me. That hurts so much. It does hurt so much when you shoot yourself with a grenade for some reason. It's very unpleasant. From here, once again, another secret elevator similar to the one on the other side of the room with a few more goodies, but also another secret door with a teleporter that leads you to the shadow armor that I pointed out earlier, and some poison bolts as well. Because we pressed the button in this sort of central area, we now have access to the end of the level. I want to say this is where it always gets a little fuzzy. Yeah, if we just grab our map and just go to this staircase, this is now open, these bars, that's ultimately the reason why we did all of that good stuff. There's a couple enemies on this side, there's going to be a Templar on the other side of the room, so that's why we grabbed our grenade launcher. The rest we can just use a couple rockets or poison bolts. They're all just acolytes hiding in strange little nooks. And we can move on.
Don't give up. This is it. Straight ahead.
Straight ahead. And that brings us to this final part of the level with a door that doesn't open because you need to press a switch. There's a map here. The map's vaguely interesting because there's like 2 of them in the game. Also, the switch opens up the door to the next area right here. But the map works the same as a computer area map in Doom. It just shows you everything you haven't explored yet. You can see that there's a room over here. You won't be able to enter it for quite a while. There's only a teleporter behind it. There's no items behind it. And there's really no reason to go in there. Another section that we also ended up not really exploring. Right, that closes behind you. Oh, that actually makes this a little bit tricky to explain. There is another section of the map right there in the bottom right, sort of in the center of the map right now that we haven't entered. There's just a teleporter there. It brings you back to the start of the level as well. This closes behind you, and in the veteran edition of the game, you can actually open it from the other side, because technically you can get back on that side without having completed certain things and events. And if you did that in the original game, you'd just be soft locked. So fortunately, that is one of the protections, that you can actually just open that from the other side now, so that's good. Another one of those protections is that this force field is here now. Otherwise, you'd be able to use this to just leave the level, which was part of the problem, really, and that switch will turn off the force field, and that switch won't be accessible until you've actually done everything in the level. So all in all, pretty good stuff. I'm realizing that my right click might actually be a print screen button right now, which is why I'm getting occasional stutters, because I occasionally press right click by accident. The power of rebinding buttons. Anyway, you can talk to everyone here. Everyone's asking what you're doing here. If you say routine inspection, they'll say, all right, carry on. This is part of the inspection, of course. But let's indeed move on. There is a bunch of enemies all over the place. No one really cares because, you know, I've got my stealth. You can talk to just about everyone and they'll all say the same thing, so not really too much interesting stuff going on there. You can jump down here and you'll die, so don't. And I was in two minds whether or not I want to do this stealthily. I think today I'm just gonna physically attack this person. As you saw right there, he did one actual shotgun attack and it cost me an amount of medical kits, so that's a little unfortunate. You really want to be in actual melee range against these enemies when you're using a melee attack, otherwise you get shot in the face by a shotgun. And that's just not great. Over here, there will be an elevator that goes down, revealing a switch to progress in the level. The switch is right here. It'll show up when you reach this place, so you don't really need to worry about the enemies either. You can just walk past them if you really want to. It's just that later in the level, the alarms will be going off, and then it's just nice to get everything over here done with, so we don't have to worry about it. This is just a bunch of circles. There is a... I think there's some enemies here. Yeah, there's enemies here that you can take care of right now. Later on, they'll just be wandering around, so it's just nice to take care of these right now. It's just a little fiddly to shoot through these bars, as you can see, so not great. Everything's blocked off right now except for this section where a button appears from the ceiling. Don't know if this can crush you. It probably can, so just be a little careful with it as you press the switch and move on. These will open up some of the bars. There is some enemies behind those bars that will get mad at you. The door is closed behind you if you walk too far forward, as you can tell by the great sound effect. Over here, this might be attackable from this close. They're really bad at shooting you if you're actually directly underneath them, so that's also just a really nice deal. God, look at this nonsense. But it does make it a little bit easier to kill them that way. There is one guy here. If you wonder how he got here, there's a good chance that he just fell down in the water. Takes a decent amount of damage, actually, if you fall down there. I don't think there's even anything else here except for a teleporter to get to that little section right there. If you so desire. He could have also just jumped, I suppose. Who knows? I don't know. I don't live his life. Moving on, though. Couple more Templars here and some general people hanging out. Since I'm still in stealth mode, I'm just gonna keep it that way and melee everything to death for as long as we can. You can actually get pretty far with it, and you end up saving a lot of ammo this way as well. So all in all, it's a pretty good deal. This is where we actually have to go. If we press this switch, it'll create a little walkway. And if we press this switch right here, we'll actually be able to progress in the level. You can either take the watery walkway, or you can go back from whence you came. But there is still a couple enemies here, and this is usually where I give up on stealth and instead use really high-powered weaponry instead. As you can see, pretty effective against Templar. It does cost a decent chunk of health to use, but ultimately, it's a lot of fun to use, so that's why we're doing it. I am going to refrain from using the waterway from the start. I will be using it later, but I think this pass just puts you in a better position against some of the enemies later. So we're just going to go back up. It will have opened up this door right here, and we can take the elevator down to a bunch of enemies inside walls, because once again the spiders are hiding in little nooks and crannies, so you can very easily get ambushed over here. if you don't know where to look, because it's not immediately obvious that enemies will be going through walls here. But that's exactly the point of the enemy at the end of the day, I suppose. What I mentioned earlier is you can take the water path as well. You'll get to a slightly different door, which allows you to more easily fight one of the enemies up here. You'll just be brought to them immediately. But with the Mauler, they are easily dispatched of. This elevator going down, that's the path where I was coming from earlier, so that's how we've gone full circle. And with that, we can move on. The turrets are not mad.
From the outside, this place looks tiny.
That's the joke about level design. And over here are some pillars. I'm mostly just showing this off because otherwise a button later is going to be confusing, and I don't want any button to serve confusion. Although that's pretty much the whole part of this level. This whole level is just based around confusion, really, because you just gotta keep pressing buttons. There are so many buttons in this place, and every time you press a button, you'll have access to a new button. It's very Hexen-like in that regard, and I can respect it. Me being the one person who likes Hexen, so it ends up working out. But moving on, everything so far has been mostly destroyed. One more enemy right here, no worries. There is a robot behind some pillars that you can take care of now or later. These bars open pretty late into the level, so that's why I just like to deal with it now. This elevator, I don't think it takes me where I want to be, but it takes me somewhere where there's some enemies that otherwise I'm doing this level in kind of a weird way just because otherwise I get lost. There's so much stuff to forget if you take a regular path, because you'll always just end up missing a walkway somewhere, and this way it's just a little bit easier for me to deal with everything. This should bring me to a button, more or less, I think. One of these will... Let's say yes. Let's say that somewhere over here... That's the door with the button. Cool. Now I know where I am. We can continue this level without panic. Oh, this brings you here. Oh. That's not a very effective force field at all. Except if you try to open the door, because if you use a force field, you end up getting pushed back and taking damage. Well, that's weird. I don't know if you can actually turn off that force field. Huh. Anyway. Now we've all learned something new today, so that's good. Now we can press the switch to open up a door somewhere else in the level. Don't worry about it. This doesn't open if I recall because I don't have the key yet. We'll have it later, but you'll know which key I'm talking about. This enemy, I don't think ever has been aggroed in my life. He doesn't really have anything to say. He's not really particularly special. He's just never aggroed for some reason, which is a little unusual. All things considered, I suppose. But you can do this particular very tiny section stealthily that way, so that's good. Over here is the core key. It's the key I was talking about just a little bit ago. And we can use all these med patches and things to heal back up again. And now we can press this button that I saw from over here previously. We can use it to lower the water. Once the water is lowered, we can press this button to create a staircase. And we can press this button to open a door. I'm actually genuinely not sure if you need to do this, because we do have the core key already. But I think it lowers like a bunch of stuff over here, maybe some bars. I don't. It probably opens something. Over here, you might hear an enemy teleport every now and then. Don't worry about it. No one's being too scary. They're all inside that little side area right there. It's just a singular robot. And if you go through this teleporter, you end up at the barred off spot that somehow I didn't open up. It's just, there's so many buttons in this level. There is just so many buttons. You can jump over here, but I don't think there's anything here. You can hear the uncertainty about my being in this place. I'm just starting to realize that there's so many buttons, and all in all, you really only need to press like a handful of them. One thing I showed off earlier was some weird beams. They're over here. You can lower them with this switch. And you'll have a little shortcut that you can use to get back to this part of the level if you find yourself up top there. So, good stuff. Door number 2 leads you to the place where we actually need to be. We can, once again, just melee these enemies because they had not been warned about us.
Ooh, very impressive. Let's blow it up.
And indeed, we get to use our little crossbow to blow up the computer, because it doesn't do anything, so good stuff all around. With that, that is the level more or less completed. We can use door number 1 to get back to where we were.
Come on, let's get the hell out of here.
These previously were blocked off by beams as well, but because we did everything, these beams are now open. The enemies were already dead, but now we can even get the surgery kit, so that's nice. We should now be able to go all the way back again, open up the force field, and be on our way back. Very nice. This brings us back to close to the Bishop's Tower. We killed some enemies up here earlier, one here, one on the other side. I'm actually going to go there as well, just for the sake of getting a little bit more Mauler ammo, because it is always so likely that I'm going to run out otherwise. And all the force fields are now gone, so we can go into the Bishop's Castle right here. And here, everyone's mad at me from the get-go, so we're just going to start blasting. Not sure if Shadow Armor works very well here, but it probably doesn't hurt. Unlike grenades in your face, there is a...
The artist said we would know him by his symbol of power. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, I have thoughts. There is a bunch of Templars in these upper areas. It's a little fiddly to kill them from down here with anything that shoots projectiles, because they just keep hiding behind walls and pillars and such, so it's a little annoying for sure. But I do like to take care of them here rather than later, because otherwise they become a problem later. So it's just nice to get these out of the way if you can. If not, you can deal with them later. It's in an area which you don't even really need to visit, but they are just in such awkward places the entire time. Hopefully that one's just nearly dead enough that he's not going to be a problem at least. I'm pretty sure one of them didn't die. Yeah, like that one. And it's a similar situation going on the other side. But it is just nice to deal with them right now, because it's just a bunch of tiny walkways, and it's just really fiddly to try and kill them when you're there a little bit later. And then the Crusaders up there are just generally a problem, because they shoot rockets, and once again in the tiny walkway, that's a problem. You don't want to deal with that problem, so nicer to deal with them like this. But as you can see, the auto aim just has a tendency to hit the floor because you're shooting up, and that never really works out great. With weapons like the machine gun, it doesn't hurt as much because the bullets appear in them, so that's obviously better. But let's move on. Right here.
Who dares to defy me and enter my fortress? A worthless human. Face me and die.
Face me and die. There's 2 Crusaders here. I don't think I've ever seen them attack. I think they're just entirely stuck. And they're just hanging out. I'm sure if you mess around with them too much, you're probably going to get shot to bits, but I'd rather avoid that. But it's odd. They're always stuck. I don't know if that's actually a veteran edition thing or not. And truth be told, not really too interested either. There is a switch on both sides that open up this big central door. You can use it to enter the castle. I will be going to the other side as well in a second, but it's nice to get these stalkers out of the way. They're all on the ceiling and a little bit awkward to attack otherwise. It appears there's some acolytes behind me. I think these actually teleport to different sections of the level later if you don't kill these, so it is actually kind of nice to get them out of the way. But there were some acolytes that I couldn't really place ever, so that would explain that, I suppose. Over here, there should be similarly another acolyte. There is also another switch here in case you hadn't opened the door yet, so that's good. And then there's a couple of side areas which have their own little quirks as well. The main reason I say that is because there's elevators which I think you're only meant to hit from the bottom when you're down there. But interestingly enough, you can just push them down from up there. There is some items that you can pick up, and you can actually just enter the fortress from a different section. So, might be easier. I assume it isn't. I genuinely assume it's just worse, but it's nice to have options, you know. A couple of stealthy enemies awaiting us here as well. And some more Crusaders, but again, the Mauler is so nice. It's such a good weapon. And if you don't have the Mauler, there's always rockets, you know, and grenades. There's so many ways to deal with the nastiness here. Now, ultimately, the goal in this place is once again to just press a whole bunch of switches, and then we'll be able to go to the Bishop. Yeah, stuff like that happens every now and then. It's just teleporting noises of enemies that aren't really that big of a deal, but it's just a bunch of random teleporters all over the place in this strange building. Very unusual. So occasionally there's just going to be an enemy behind you. I'm genuinely not sure if they can telefrag you or not, and I hope they can, but it wouldn't surprise me at the same time. At this point though, we are just about full circle in the path of not taking the front door. There is a similar elevator on this side as well. I think it's over here, yeah. With some more stuff that you can grab. At this point, it's also nice to have cleared those Templars at the top, because otherwise they will be shooting at you from up above. And that's never good. So with that, we move on. I'm actually going to use a surgery kit just because my health was once again getting a little bit on the low side, but that's okay. Let's actually just use the front door to make sure we're not missing out on any good stuff. The main reason to take the front door as well is that the path is just a little bit more obvious where you actually have to go. Because for the most part, it's just a lot of just walking forward. It just makes life a little bit easier to navigate ultimately. I think there's a spider on the roof. Yeah. Just a couple stalkers. Nothing we can't handle, fortunately. And there is some items over there. There's going to be a walkway that allows you to get there. You can jump there as well. I'm going to try it exactly once, because the jump is tight. It is a difficult jump in my opinion. I don't care for it. I don't want to do it, so we won't. We can go up here, but it's currently slightly blocked off until we press the switch that is right here.
Military leader equals lots of bad guys.
There is indeed lots of bad guys, but if we press this switch, it is going to remove some beams in that upper area, and doing that is, yeah, it's a strange place for a switch that deals with something that's so far away. There's one stalker somewhere up here. Sometimes you can see him. I think we're not going to worry about it though. Instead, we are going on a little adventure. Let's grab a flamethrower, because there's a bunch of enemies that are not very good against a flamethrower, and I like to deal with them now. There's a big hallway over here. It brings you to these paths where the stalkers and not stalkers, the Crusaders and Templars were. We have been kind of in this sequence already, sort of, on one side at least, because there's the elevator that we lowered to get into the fortress tower, whatever this place is called, using the weird path like that all just leads back here again now, so you can once again travel everywhere for a full circle. But on this side there is an enemy waiting for us, and some more medkits as well. Plus this brings you to an area that's otherwise inaccessible. If you try to get here any other way, it's just slightly too high. And this side doesn't actually have anything, but the other side of the map does have some stuff there, so we'll come back to that in a second. First of all though, you might have been hearing the acolytes mumble for a while. They're all in this room. Ultimately, as I said before, there is a bunch of switches that we have to press. We can press this to open up a door, we can press this to open up a wall, and a switch as well, and we can pull the switch as part 1 of 2 of the puzzle. With that though, we can go to the other side of the map. We can just go through the middle here. There's a big old walkway that we can use to get to the other side as well. Just about everything has been opened up at this point through the passageways that we took. I will once again be taking this upper area. Once again, there will be a stalker waiting for us down there. And there's also just a bunch of ammo waiting for us here. Due to the Templars that you kill will all be dropping those smaller ammos, so it's all just worthwhile to go everywhere all the time. Once again, switch with an elevator that goes down, with a button at the bottom, with another switch that gets revealed once you've done all that. And that will have opened up the remainder of the level now that we've done that twice. Very good. Couple more enemies. Normally, you can get here from this side as well. This brings us back to the sort of big central area. We can now actually reach this one spider that's been making a lot of noise. Apparently we're out of bullets, but there is 200 bullets in this room alone. And I'm just gonna make one final check over here because I think I forgot to pick up an ammo satchel. and I'd like to have the ammo satchel. It is right outside here. There was that little section where the stalker was hanging out. There is another elevator on this side as well. And since we are missing a poison bolt, now we have that as well, and we no longer need to worry about our great ammo deficit. So all in all, pretty good stuff. Press this.
You cannot kill me. You are just human, and I am more than human.
Yeah, and also some Templars who teleport away once you get close to them. They don't teleport very far away, but they'll be behind you in a place where that's awkward, so it's just nice to take care of them. Sometimes they don't teleport though, as you can see. I can hear an acolyte. Who's... Yeah. I wonder if there's another acolyte over here as well. I've been hearing that acolyte for like a year at that point, but I think he's actually gone now. And that brings us to the bishop, which certainly is an enemy. I'm gonna use a... I probably shouldn't use a shadow armor actually, because the bishop shoots a lot of rockets. It's just this big robot with a big rocket launcher on his back. Sounds suspiciously like a crusader. He dies very quickly, and then turns into this weird little ghost. And this weird little ghost is only weak to the sigil, so we're just going to use that as much as we can, because otherwise we cannot damage him. If you just sort of get him close to a wall, then usually you can just sort of circle around it as lightning falls on top of him, and then eventually he'll usually die.
Did you see that weird specter that came out of the bishop's body? Where have I seen that before?
And that gives us a second part of the sigil. We're still holding it. If we shoot now, we no longer get our cool lightning attack, but we get this projectile that we shoot, which I'm not super happy about, because it certainly makes it a lot worse. It also costs like a whole bunch more health to use now, I believe. Yeah, it's like 8 health now instead of 4, so all in all, it's a downgrade, but you know, you need to do it. Over here, there's some secret stuff waiting for you behind the bishop's lair as well. And with all that done, we can indeed go back through to where we came from. Let's just get these remaining things with the walkways that we have indeed created a little bit earlier. By pressing all the switches in all the different places, it just gives you a whole bunch of extra ammo for stuff, and that's just really nice. I'm not particularly concerned about my Mauler ammo being as low as it is, arguably low. It's 800 is max. It also uses the flamethrower ammo, which I guess I never actually said, but it's a little irrelevant at the end of the day. But on the way back, we will be getting some ammo pickups for the Mauler as well, so it doesn't really matter too much. Before moving on, I'm actually going to go to the hospital real quick. Talk to our best friend, the merchant who we punched in the face, and get some more surgery kits just so we have those. And with that, we can finally leave, because the bishop's destroyed, and we can go back to the Oracle and tell him we've been a good guy. It is a little far back, but you have to do it. There is also some more poison bolts over here, as I said, but also Mauler ammo. Should have used more poison bolts, I guess. This teleporter brings you back to the start of this section. And that means we are already pretty close to the Oracle already, because we are back outside.
That the spectral energy we found near the bishop is also present by the Oracle. Let's be careful.
Yeah, I mean, you might have already noticed it earlier, but there is a little bit going on over there, which I suppose we have to worry about. Everything closes behind you. Well, I guess this just opens again. But the teleporter disappears when you go there, and we can have a little chat with the Oracle right here.
Your next challenge will test your spirit. The third piece is held by your own leader. He is the same as that which he sends you to kill.
That's not good.
Your blind faith has allowed him to advance to his goals with each piece you gain. Confront him and resolve your fate.
So whichever option you pick here doesn't really matter, because it progresses the conversation the same way.
Whatever choice you make, your kind shall perish under the will of the one God.
Whichever option you pick here does matter, because if you pick the second one, then the Oracle gets mad and starts attacking you. So we're just gonna pick that one.
Time moves forever onward, while you stand still.
Now at this point, we can actually shoot the Oracle as well. And then we have to deal with another one of those specters. But we can also go back to the front base, now that we've said that to the Oracle. And we will. Now, let's just quickly run back to the teleporter. And we can talk to Mesa, but first let's not. Let's go to the medic, because I think because we destroyed the computer. This is not the medic, but we can tell this person to teach us some more accuracy, and we can tell this person to give us some more health. So that is good stuff all around. But at this point, I am actually going to make a little save file under spoiler and spoiler 2, so I don't lose either of those. Because at this point, we actually have a choice to make whether we trust Maisel or the
What prompts
Oracle.
your return? Are you hurt? There's no time to lose. Continue with your mission. Complete the sigil.
You have to die.
I have sworn myself to freedom. It is the Oracle who holds the third piece. There's your traitor.
So, we have a choice. If we say that we think he's the traitor, then we have to fight him. If we say the Oracle has to die, then we're gonna have to fight the Oracle. The main difference is that this is hopefully an all kills playthrough and all secrets. And the only way to get that is to actually fight the Oracle. Doing that will send you on a different path, but also towards a different ending. And this is technically the canon ending, I do believe, so that's what we're
You
going
have
to
made
do.
the right decision. It's clear that the Oracle is controlled by whatever evil is driving the Order. Return to it and claim the third piece of the sigil.
Onward, my champion. Let's make Mr. Ugly twist and shout.
Yes. So that's that. We have sided with Maisel. I have made those save files just for the purposes of showing off in maybe like a couple of videos from now what happens when you pick the other route. It's not going to be as much detail, but I'll definitely show it off. But this is my route for this playthrough, and honestly most people's playthrough. The Oracle doesn't seem like well, there's a vibe to the Oracle that people don't exactly mesh with for some reason. Anyway, we're going back to the Oracle. The Oracle has no idea what we've said to Maisel, of course. We can talk to the Oracle still,
The river of time.
but that's not really any extra dialogue. If we shoot the Oracle, the head comes off and everything goes weird. And we're just gonna leave this place immediately, because once we get rid of the weird skull face on the Oracle, then the creature will appear. And this boss deals a lot of damage. This boss deals more damage than probably anything in the game with its attacks. So we have to be very careful not to get shot like that. We just used 7 medical kits after 1 attack. So it's really it's a scary time. So let's just try.
I thought you were different.
So that's what happens if you die. That attack genuinely took away all of my medkits, and it still ended up killing me. So I think that gives you an idea of what this boss is all about. One way to do it is also just not run into that outside area, because I feel like it's a little easier if you're here-ish, because then the boss's auto-aim doesn't always go as directly towards you, and he shoots some big circles of death, and all of them are not good to the touch, so we're just gonna try a little bit safer this time around. You'll know you've won once you get his weapon, but another thing you have to look out for is if the enemy flies over that middle circle right there, which does occasionally happen because they'll just end up going back there again. Oh my goodness. You'll know you've won once you get his weapon, and this is actually probably the worst place he could be. This is not ideal, because he's like so awkwardly behind this wall that I have to sort of hope that he's not going to shoot me, so that's not ideal. Also, he just keeps going all the way down for some reason, so this is about as rough as it gets. Where is he even? That's... God, I'm learning new things about this game every time I play it. This is one of the more... Like, you can see him through the wall, and it's just not much we can do about it right now, because he's decided to live his life underneath a fence. How's it that every boss keeps doing weird things this playthrough? But yeah, fair enough, I suppose. We'll see if it ends up being bad or not. If we jump down there, we die, so I don't really want to follow him down into the death pit if I can avoid it. He's got all the way to the bottom. That's so unusual. Yeah, if you see... Little fiddly here. Can we lure him back up if we just, like, go to this part of the level or something? Because this is ridiculous. Certainly a new one, but it's not exactly the kind of new one I was hoping for. I just don't want to be in this room, because if he does attack us in there, there's just not that many places we can go because we're in a doorway. Okay, he's coming back up. Hey, we did it.
Well, so much for prognostication. Hold it. Maisel is calling us back. Let's get out of here in one piece.
So that went perfectly, and no one ever saw that death that happened, so that's good. There's a switch here now. Genuinely no idea. I've never seen that switch before. I'll figure out if that does anything important later, but I have to assume the answer is almost certainly no. We have a new part of the sigil now, so it's a little bit more cool looking. If we attack with it now, it's going to cost a lot of health to use, and we get that same circle attack that the Oracle got there, so good stuff. And we can go back to Maisel, who is now once again probably just very, very happy with our action. So good stuff all round. Let's go over here.
There seems no end to the horror we face. We have found out that the Order is not killing our people. It is transforming them into biomechanical soldiers. Find the facility where this is being done and close it permanently.
Biomechanical? Well, that explains their seemingly endless supply of troops and their bad attitude.
Mm-hmm.
One of our captains, Richter, is waiting for you by the waterfall in the Commons. He has seen the facility and can guide you inside. Stop this atrocity, now.
Yeah.
Fight for the front and freedom. Move out.
And I think you get some extra gold and things as well. We have a lot of gold actually, so we can probably spend some of it. Once again, after destroying the Oracle, you also can go back here for a few more accuracy and health upgrades. At this point, we actually deal so much melee damage that it's likely that we can just about kill any acolyte in one hit. So we're in a pretty good place right now. I will just real quick actually just go back into town. At this point, we've basically ended the video. So at this point, I'm just collecting a few more things before moving on to the next one. But it's nice to have just made a little bit of preparation before we do that and actually spend some of our gold, because we're not really doing that ever. So let's go over here, buy some metal armors, some leather armors, probably some environmental suits, just whatever will keep us alive. In the hospital, we can buy some field surgery kits, some med kits, all that good stuff. Very nice. And with all of that purchased, we can go back to the Borderlands and walk to the Commons, because that is where our next video is going to start. It is going to be right over here. And that is that. We now actually have the keys and things required to go into this next area, but we'll leave that for next time. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. Next time we play, we'll be going into the Commons and find out who Richter is and what's going on all over the place over there. And I hope to see y'all there. Bye-bye. Turns out, I forgot a hallway. At the very end on this side, there is a hallway with some Templars inside it, and some Acolytes as well. But fortunately, you can just return to this level, so no worries there. But ultimately, it is something I forgot, but it does allow us to show off this side of the map, which is a teleporter that brings you back to the start of the level if you so desire. So ultimately, it only helped out being a little bit of an extra feature, but that's that. That's hopefully really this time all the enemies killed, and we can go back to the Commons, and I will see you there next time. Bye bye.